University of Tennessee at Chattanooga has served the education needs of this region for more than 125 years. We strive to provide the best possible educational experience for our students while also employing our talents and resources to address the concerns and improve the quality of life for our community. Hello, I'm Chuck Cantrell, and today we'll have a conversation with Dr. Stephen Angle, Chancellor at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. We'll ask him about what he's learned about the campus and the community in his 2 years here and what his vision is for UTC's and Chattanooga's futures. So come back from Metro Campus, the UTC Report. Thanks for joining us today for Metro Campus, the UTC Report. I'm Chuck Cantrell. Certainly, the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga is our region's leader in undergraduate and advanced graduate education. As an engaged community university, UTC also plays an important role in the economic, cultural, civic, and intellectual development of our region beyond our classrooms. In his first 2 years as Chancellor at UTC, Dr. Stephen Angle has overseen the development of a new strategic plan to lead the campus into the future. Private support for the campus is at near record levels. Student success and community connections and how those two intertwine have become important elements for Dr. Angle's vision for the campus and the community. Dr. Angle is a chemist by discipline and came to UTC from Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio. Chancellor Angle, thank you so much for being here on Metro Campus. This is, I know, at least a repeated visit. You've been here a couple of times. Tell us a little bit about the strategic plan. What does it mean for the campus?
I think it provides a sense of direction and a roadmap for the future. We're focusing on our students and a quality education and connections to the community. How can we use all of the great things going on in this community to offer an even better education for our students?
And I think obviously student success is something that would come out in probably any education strategic plan, but how did the community connections come to be so important that it's right there with equal level with student success?
With what's going on in our Chattanooga community right now, there's so many wonderful things for our students to apply what they're learning in the classroom. The opportunity to work with a startup company, to work at one of the major corporations in Chattanooga, to work with a small business and really make a difference in the future of that business. What a great way to see functioning in real life what they're learning about in a classroom.
When you go out in the community and you're talking to the residents and the business leaders and civic, what do you think they're looking for from UTC?
I think they're looking for an engaged partner who isn't selfish but is focusing on our students and adding value to this community, and that's what we're striving to do.
And that's what this strategic plan attempts to do.
That's exactly right.
So how do you see the interconnection between the Chattanooga connections and student learning? How do we blend those together?
We're working on that, and in different areas it may mean something a little different. You know, it's easy to see in nursing, teacher education, social work, where actually practicing what they're learning out in the community. In business, doing an internship with an accounting firm if you're an accounting major, to work with a company that is doing a marketing plan. Seeing how that works, to work with a startup company and get involved with all facets of an operation and understand what it really takes to get a company going and off the ground.
So for folks who may not understand, or we use certain language in education, when we say experiential learning, what does that mean generally for a student's experience?
Yeah, that's doing research. In my field, chemistry, it's doing something nobody's done before. It's getting out and applying knowledge. If you're in interior design, it's getting out and practicing that and seeing what it is to lay out an interior area and how it works with the functionality and blends with the outdoors and how people actually work and live.
So let me ask you a question. It seems like this is a tradition, it's an age-old problem in higher education. There seems to be such interest in the professional fields and so much emphasis on real-world learning, hands-on, that experiential learning. Then how do you balance in that very important element of general education and liberal arts?
I think it underlies everything that our students do. So the liberal arts is very important. You look at the ability to write and express yourself. We have a communications program, but you look at across disciplines. As a sociology major, political science, you have to be able to express yourself, relate to people, put yourself in their shoes, and understand what it is to be a citizen of this society. And I think a liberal education background provides you that opportunity to understand the strength that we have in our diversity, the diversity of opinion, thought, background, ethnicities. And how does that make us a stronger people when we incorporate that and cherish those differences? Even in the professions, if you're an engineer and you don't know how to relate to people who are different than you, how are you going to help your company market something in China or in Europe or in Australia, around the world? It's a global market, and our students have to be able to live and work in that world.
Well, in one answer, you've hit like 3 topics. I'm going to come back, which is perfect. You've teed it up for me. I want to go back to the community connections. We recently added the position of Director of Community Connections, or Community Partnerships.
Yes.
And so tell me exactly about what your vision is for this position, how this position is going to fulfill a need that was existing here in UTC and in Chattanooga.
I think there was, when I came 2 years ago, what I heard from our community is, how do we relate to the university? How do we connect? Who's going to follow up if nobody answers our inquiry? Whether it's a request for internships, do you have somebody doing research in this area? We'd like to have a class look at a particular area and do a project. I think that having someone who can monitor that, who can work with our community and then make the right connections on campus and make sure we give an answer. If we can't do it, that we respond.
Yeah, I tell you what, we're going to have to take a break here in just a minute. When we come back, I want to talk about research, and I want to talk about globalization, and I want to talk about diversity, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Mocs and the athletics season too. When we continue, we'll come back and continue our conversation with UTC Chancellor Dr. Stephen Angle. Thanks for coming back for more Metro Campus, the UTC Report. I'm Chuck Cantrell. We're talking today with Dr. Steve Angle, Chancellor at UTC. Okay, Dr. Angle, we're talking about the new position of Director of Community Partnerships. What is her name, and how would people get in touch with her if they needed to?
So Ann Yoakum
at
UTC. She's just joined us from Tulane University in New Orleans, and we're glad to have her. So email Ann Yoakum at utc.edu.
And we always talk about how they can get in touch with us at the end of the show, so we'll cover that. So okay, we've talked about community partnerships a little bit. I want to move into research, because I know we've also hired a new person for research. Tell me a little bit about what your vision is for research on UTC's campus, because I mean, we're clearly not a Harvard, a Johns Hopkins, an MIT, something like that. What is, when you say research at UTC, what exactly is your vision, and what does that mean?
I think research encompasses your research, scholarly activity, creative activity. It's a broad umbrella of pushing back the forefront of knowledge. Funding to go with that in the sciences and engineering, it costs money, and so we need to do everything we can to make sure that we can fund it with competitive grant programs, with foundations, with private gifts, with company support. So we've hired Joanne Romani, who's joined us from DePaul University in Chicago as our Vice Chancellor for Research and Dean of our graduate programs. UTC focuses on applied research, solving problems. So Knoxville is our flagship university in the University of Tennessee system. They have a lot of basic research. We have some, but the real focus is solving real-world problems and engaging students to do that. So we take our lead from our region and Southeast Tennessee, looking at where do we need to be making investments, where are the interesting problems, what can we do to help drive the economy to solve problems that are of interest to this region.
I'm going to put you on the spot just a tad, because I know I've heard this story before, but it actually does fit into a question. When you talk about research and student involvement and student engagement and student learning, I know you have a personal story of how you saw it change at least one student's life in a major way. But when you talk about, when we look at research, you generally don't think of undergraduate students being able to participate and have the level of involvement that you would at a campus at like at UTC. So tell me a little bit about what you see the relationship between research and student learning at the undergraduate level and how important that can be?
Well, I think it's a chance to get out of the classroom and see how things work in real life. And the place this makes the biggest difference is in the B and C student. The student who's kind of getting by and is so capable but isn't excited about learning. Once they do something a little different, once they get into that play where they have a chance to perform on stage, it's different. Once they get a chance to be in a laboratory and do something nobody's ever done before, solve a problem, find out some new piece of information we didn't know, it's almost like you plug them into the wall and learning is fun, and they realize, oh, if I want to address this problem, I have to go solve 3 other things and learn about that so I can apply it to this situation. And so that's a fun time to see students mature and get excited about learning. And once it's fun, you almost have to hold them back and lock up the laboratory. At least in my case, I had to tell students, you know, after midnight we were going to close it down because they couldn't work by themselves.
Yeah. It's funny. You are now in administration. You don't really get to be in the classroom a lot these days. But when you talk about teaching, you just light up. I could just see it. And so, I mean, are you still an educator even though you're in administration? How do you see that relationship working?
Well, I think there's a role. You know, last year I taught a freshman seminar and actually teaching students. But I think the education role is a little different as chancellor, which is trying to look at the possibilities, understand where we can make a real difference. It's educating people in a very different way, perhaps not for a grade, but to accomplish a task. As we look at how do we build one of the best teacher education programs in the country here, that's a daunting task, and it's going to take a lot of help, but that's something we want to mobilize to try to do here at UTC.
So let's move into a different topic a little bit, globalization. Again, UTC has recently brought on board a new director of international programs. So tell me a little bit about, and I know that's sort of as a two-prong. He's looking at exchange programs and then also recruitment of international students. Let's talk first about the recruitment of international students. Why do you think it's important to try to build the base of international students we have here at UTC? What does that bring to the campus?
I think it helps bring the world to the campus. Not every student can travel abroad, but getting to know people from other parts of the world who have grown up in a completely different environment, looking at religions that, oh my goodness, we don't have neighbors that are looking at religion that way, who have experiences that we realize how privileged we are here because we have so much opportunity. And sometimes we focus on what we don't have instead of what we have and how to make the most of it. And I think that bringing students from around the world here, we have a partnership with Moi University in Africa, and incredibly warm people in Kenya who do so much, sometimes with so little. For our students to see that and appreciate, I think they go about learning and their relationships with people in a different way.
I know we recently did an agreement with I don't know if it was a university in China, but a group to create an exchange program in China as well. When we come back, I want to ask a little bit about how we recruit those international students, but we're going to have to take another break, and I don't want to miss out on talking about the mocks just a little bit. When we return, we'll conclude our conversation with Chancellor Steve Engle. Thanks for coming back for more Metro Campus, the UTC Report. I'm Chuck Cantrell. We're talking with Dr. Steve Engle, Chancellor at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. Okay, Dr. Engle, I know we're running out of time. We're in our last segment, so I want to go ahead and jump to athletics. But before we talk about anything specific, tell me a little bit about your philosophy or your view of what athletics means to a college campus.
I think it helps the whole life, enthusiasm, excitement level of the college campus. It really is the front door to the university for many people in the community. It's the way they learn about the good things going on. In our case, we have people who come and watch our student athletes and then learn The average GPA last spring was 3.11 for our student athletes as a group. Wow, that is incredible.
Yeah, and that's got to be, I mean, I know that's high, certainly within the University of Tennessee system, but I can't just imagine it's not pretty good for many campuses. I heard that, did he say 11 of our teams had perfect scores in their APR?
APR,
yeah.
yes.
And so that's not too shabby for students who have to also balance all the time with practice and study halls and all those things. Just tell me how you think the Mocs are going to do this year in football. I can't let you go without asking that.
You know, the first game is going to be great. September 5th, 6 p.m., Jacksonville State. You know, a top 5 rated team. We're certainly well in the top 10. We think very close to Jacksonville State, but it'll be a wonderful game. And we have so many returning players and some new ones. Done a great job recruiting, our coaches have, and I think they're ready to go.
It's code blue, so I think that means everybody wear the blue. It's a little bit of gold is in there is okay, but we definitely want to see everybody out in blue. So, Dr. Engel, tell us a little bit about your college experience. Where did you do your undergraduate work? And what kind of student were you? I'm interested in that.
So I started off as a B student at the University of California, Santa Barbara. Transferred to UC Irvine after a year and ended up getting my degree there. I got involved in undergraduate research at the end of my sophomore year and went from being a B student to an A student. It changed my life.
Did you always know that science, chemistry was the route, or?
Oh, I hated chemistry in high school. It was my worst subject. I didn't fail, but I came close at the quarter grade. But I wanted to be a veterinarian, so I was going to major in biology. And to major in biology, I had to take chemistry. And I found it was wonderful. I loved it, and went to a faculty member and said, I think I like this stuff. What should I do? And he said, well, do research. I said, can I work for you? And he said, not this quarter, but you can next. And so I waited and got into his lab, and things really clicked. And you know, as an undergraduate, I took a special topics class from Linus Pauling, Nobel laureate, Peace Prize in chemistry, who was just phenomenal. But getting involved, that's what I try to tell our students. Get involved, do something related to academics, do something that's fun and social, and do something to get out and help your wellness and physical health.
So you've been here 2 years now. We talked a little bit about what brought you to Chattanooga. What has surprised you the most about the UTC campus?
I think the opportunities. I knew that the potential was incredible, but the people who are the university are so warm and friendly and committed and passionate. They really want to make a difference in the lives of our students and in this community. And the passion that they display when they go about their job every day is just, it gets me up in the morning and gets me charged, ready to come to work and work as hard as I can.
I tell you what, that's about all the time we have for today on Metro Campus. Remember, you can always learn more information about anything we discuss here by visiting the UTC website at www.utc.edu. I want to say thank you very much to Dr. Stephen Engel for joining us. Thank you for watching. See you next month. And remember, Metro Campus, utc.edu.